So, what if you could sit down with, say, 500 of the wealthiest, most successful people of an era and just distill all their secrets into one single formula for achievement? Well, that's pretty much exactly what Napoleon Hill did with his 1937 classic, Think and Grow Rich. Today, we're going to dive into these timeless principles that have, believe it or not, probably created more millionaires than any other book in history.
Here's how we're going to break this all down. We're going to look at Hill's 13 principles as a four-part journey. We'll start inside your own mind, then we'll move to creating a real, tangible plan. After that, we unleash some unstoppable action. And finally, we'll learn how to tap into forces that can seriously amplify your success. It's really a complete roadmap from thought to reality.
You know, the reason this book is so powerful is where it comes from. These aren't just some guy's theories he cooked up. No, Hill spent over 20 years interviewing more than 500 titans of industry. We're talking people like Andrew Carnegie, Henry Ford, and Thomas Edison, just to figure out the exact principles they all had in common.
And this quote, this right here is the absolute heart of the entire philosophy. It's the big idea. Every single thing ever created, every fortune ever built, it all started as nothing more than a thought, just an idea. So your mind, that's the starting point for absolutely everything.
All right, so let's start where all achievement begins, inside your head. Before you can build anything out there in the real world, you've got to build the foundation in your inner world. These first few principles are all about mastering your mindset.
The very first principle is desire. And Hill isn't just talking about, a casual wish. He means a white-hot, burning obsession. Take a guy named Edwin Barnes. He had zero money, zero connections, but he had this crystal-clear goal. He was going to work with Thomas Edison, not just for him. He literally hopped a freight train, showed up looking like a mess, but Edison saw a fire in his eyes and gave him a low-level job. Barnes held on to that desire for 5 years until his big chance came, and he ultimately became Edison's partner, making millions. Now that is a definite purpose.
So, how do you turn some vague wish into a burning desire? Well, Hill gives us this 6-step formula. It forces you to get super specific. Not just, I want more money, but an exact amount. Not someday, but a definite date. You have to write it all down and then read it aloud every morning and every night until it becomes a total obsession.
Next up is Principle 2, faith. This is that unshakable belief that you can and will achieve your desire. And honestly, the most powerful story in the whole book is about Hill's own son. He was born without any ears. Doctors said he had no hope of ever hearing, but Hill just refused to believe it. For years, he told his son bedtime stories all designed to plant one single idea in his mind. That his condition wasn't a liability, it was an asset. He held on to that belief for 18 years, until a brand new device allowed his son to hear perfectly for the first time. Something the doctor said was straight up impossible. That's the power of sustained faith.
So how in the world did Hill build that kind of faith? Through Principle 3, auto-suggestion. Think of this as the control panel for your subconscious mind. By repeatedly reading your written statement of desire, and this part is key, feeling the emotions as if you've already got it, you're basically programming your subconscious. It doesn't argue with you, it just accepts whatever you feed it over and over again, and that's how belief turns into unshakable faith.
Okay, so with that powerful mindset in place, we move to the second stage, turning that internal desire into an external, tangible plan. This is where your idea really starts to get some legs.
Principle 4 is specialized knowledge, and this is where Hill makes a really smart point. General knowledge, like knowing trivia, isn't going to make you rich. Henry Ford was famously called uneducated in court. When the lawyers tried to trick him with a bunch of random questions he couldn't answer, he basically said, look, I've got a button on my desk. I can push it and summon an expert for any question I have. He didn't clutter his mind. He focused only on the specialized knowledge he needed for his car business. That's the whole point. It's not what you know, it's how you apply specific knowledge that creates wealth.
And that specialized knowledge needs a place to take shape, right? That's where Principle 5, imagination, comes in. Hill calls it the workshop of the mind, where you forge all that knowledge into a plan. I mean, think about it. The device you're watching this on, the chair you're sitting in, every single man-made object started as just a little flicker of imagination.
Okay, let's try this right now. You, what's your goal? Don't just think about it. Use your imagination to actually see it. Can you feel the weight of your product in your hands? Can you hear the cha-ching of money flowing into your account? Hill argued that picturing success this vividly basically magnetizes your brain to find the path to make it real.
But of course, imagination is useless without Principle 6, organized planning. A goal without a plan is just a wish. For 2 whole years, a Dr. Frank Gonzalez just dreamed of building a college, but he had no money. The moment he made a simple, definite plan to deliver a powerful sermon titled, "What I Would Do If I Had $1 Million," a man in the audience was so moved, he wrote in the check the very next day. A plan, even an imperfect one, is the trigger for action.
And that brings us to our third stage. You've got the mindset, you've got the blueprint, now it's time to execute. This is where the rubber meets the road, and honestly, it's where most people fail.
Principle 7 is decision. You know what Hill noticed? The big winners, they decide fast, and they change their minds slowly, if ever. Everyone was telling Henry Ford to change the Model T, but he stuck with his decision for years, sold over 15 million of them, and built a massive fortune. The lesson is crystal clear. Make a decision and commit. Don't let other people's opinions derail you.
This leads us right into Principle 8, persistence. And boy, is there a story for this one. It's about a guy named R.U. Garby. He and his uncle found a really promising vein of gold, and they started digging. After weeks of backbreaking labor, they hit some rich ore. They were on their way becoming millionaires. So they raised some money, bought better machinery, and got back to work. But then, the vein of gold just disappeared. They drilled and drilled, found nothing, and finally, they quit. They sold all their equipment for just a few $100 to a junk man. Well, that junk man hired an engineer who discovered that they'd stopped just 3 feet from where the massive gold vein picked back up. Darby learned a lesson that day he never forgot. Success is often disguised as failure right before the big breakthrough.
All right, let's get into the final set of principles. Hill kind of saw these as the advanced stuff. They're all about tapping into forces that are beyond your own individual effort to really amplify and accelerate your success.
Principle 9 is the power of the mastermind. Hill noticed that every successful person he studied was part of a group of trusted advisors. His theory was that when 2 or more minds work together in perfect harmony, they create this third invisible intelligence, a mastermind, that's way greater than the sum of its parts. It's like 1 + 1 doesn't equal 2, it equals 3, or even 10. Simply put, who you surround yourself with changes what you can achieve.
Now, to tap into this higher intelligence and to program your own subconscious, Hill said you have to operate on a higher emotional frequency. This brings us to principles 10 and 11. He identified these 7 positive emotions as the only things your subconscious really understands. You have to consciously fill your mind with them, because if you don't, negative emotions like fear and doubt will just take over by default. He considered the energy of sex to be the most powerful of all these, and believed that learning to channel or transmute that creative energy towards your goals was a huge secret of genius.
Okay, think of your brain like a radio. This is a great way to understand Principle 12, the brain. Hill saw it as both a broadcasting and a receiving station for thought. When you have one single, clear goal and you fuel it with positive emotion, you tune in to the right frequency. Ideas, opportunities, and inspiration start coming through loud and clear. But if you're constantly changing goals, it's just like spinning the radio dial. All you get is static.
And there you have it. We've journeyed from the inner world of thought to the external world of action, and even into these forces that can amplify success. So let's pull it all together and just look at the complete 13-principle framework one more time.
See, the crucial thing to get is that these all work together as a system. You start with a burning desire. You build unwavering faith using autosuggestion. Then you create your blueprint with specialized knowledge, imagination, and organized planning. You bring that blueprint to life with decision and bulldog-like persistence. Then you amplify everything with the power of the mastermind by channeling creative energy through sex transmutation, programming your subconscious mind, and using your brain as a receiver. And when all of that is mastered, Hill says you unlock the final principle, the sixth sense, which is like this creative intuition where solutions just seem to pop into your head out of thin air.
And that brings us to the real question, the one that actually matters. Because this isn't just theory, it's a practical guide. Reading it is one thing, but applying it, that's everything. So, as you look at this list, which one of these is calling out to you right now? Which single principle, if you focused on it starting today, would make the biggest difference in your life? That's your starting point.